Magandang tanghali, Pilipinas. Nagkaroon po ang desisyon ng Korte Suprema tungkol sa kaso po ng hinain ng ilang mga senador nung tayo po ay bumitiw sa Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court. Kung maaalala nyo po, sinabi po ng mga petitioners na kinakailangan daw po na ang mga tratado na ipinasok ng gobyerno na merong concurrence ng Senado, pag tayo po ay magbibitiw, kinakailangan din ng concurrence. Pero sa desisyon po ng ating Korte Suprema, ibinasura po yung petisyon na yan. Ito po ay patunay na hindi po kinakailangan ang concurrence ng Senado sa pagbibitiw sa International Criminal Court. In fact, ang sabi po ng Korte Suprema, moot and academic na pong issue dahil nagawa na po ng Presidente ang lahat ng hakbang para po bumitiw nga sa Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court. Now, dun sa issue na kinakailangan ba talaga na lahat ng tratado na merong concurrence ng Senado ay kinakailangan mag-concur din ang Senado bago tayo makapag-withdraw? Hindi po. Ang sabi po ng Korte Suprema, and I quote, "Even sans a judicial determination that a treaty is unconstitutional, the President also enjoys much leeway in withdrawing from an agreement which in his or her judgment runs afoul of prior existing law or the Constitution." So yan po ay pagkilala, no, na talagang bilang chief architect ng foreign policy, hindi naman po pwede na lilimitahan natin ang opsyon ng Presidente pagdating po sa mga tratado na napirmahan na. Now, ang sabi rin po ng Korte Suprema, meron po talaga mga tratado na baka kinakailangan mag-consent ang Senado pag tayo po ay bibitiw. Ano po itong mga tratadong ito? Itong mga tratado na ipinasok dahil po sa isang batas na naipasa ng Kongreso o di naman kaya tratado na matapos mapirmahan ng ating Presidente ay sabi ng Kongreso ay hindi po pwedeng bumitiw sa tratado na yan na wala pong konsente ng Senado. Pero kung wala po yung ganyang mga kulatilya, rinirespeto pa rin ng ating hukuman ang separations of powers at kinikilala po na ang foreign policy ay talagang katungkulan po ng ating ekotibo. Now, punta naman po tayo sa usaping bakuna. Good news po, no? Dumating po kagabi ang 562,770 doses ng Pfizer. Kasama ito sa 40 million Pfizer doses na binili po natin ng ating pamahalaan, no? So matotal ay meron na po tayong 3,038,670 Pfizer vaccines na na-deliver sa Pilipinas. Kasama na rito po yung donasyon mula sa COVAX facility na magkahiwalay na dumating noong May 10 at June 10. Dumating din po ngayon, kanina umaga po, ang 1.5 million doses ng Sinovac. At bukas naman po, July 23, karagdagang 1 milyon pa po ng Sinovac ang expected na darating. Rain or shine po, tuloy ang pagdating ng supply ng bakuna. At rain or shine, patuloy din po ang ating ginagawang pagbabakuna, no? Bago ang press briefing sa Malacanang, ang inyong spokespo ay nasa lungsod ng Pasig para samahan po yung kahawig nating Mayor Vico Soto, no? Para sa pag-commemorate po ng 100% vaccination ng Pasig sa kanilang mga senior citizen. Yung mga lolo-lola, bakunado na po sila ng first shot, no? At para po mag-administer ng kauna-unahang mga doses ng Johnson & Johnson para po sa mga senior citizens at merong mga comorbidities. Ang 100% vaccination ng mga lolo-lola ay patunay na kaya natin magkaroon ng population protection. Kaya nga po ang pakiusap ko yung mga iba't lolo't lola, baka kayo maiwan 100% na po ng mga kapwa lolo-lola sa Pasig, bakunado na, no? Punta na po kayo sa ating mga centers, mag-register at magpabakuna na rin po, lalong-lalo na dahil merong mas nakakahawa at mas nakakamatay na Delta variant. Basta tayo po ay sama-sama at tulong-tulong, ang pambansang pamahalaan, lokal na pamahalaan at mga mamamayan ay makakamit natin ang ating layunin, ang population protection. Makikita ninyo ang na marami ang magagawa kung trabaho muna bago magpolitika. Ito pong ilang mga larawan ng nasabing event. As of July 21, 2021, 6 p.m. kagabi, halos 16 na milyon or 15,953,911 ang total doses po na na-administer na natin. Ibig sabihin, halos 16 million na po yan. Okay? Nasa 5,231,469 po ang mga kababayan nating nakakumpleto na ng 2 doses. No? Ulitin namin, wala pong bayad ang ating una at pangalawang dose ng bakuna. Kinakailangan lang po magpa-schedule. Kaya wag na po kayo mag-antay. No? Naku po, baka mamaya maunahan tayo ng Delta variant, pabakuna na po tayo. COVID-19 updates naman po tayo. Ito ang ranking ng Pilipinas po. Ito naman po isang ayon sa Johns Hopkins. Number 23 po ang Pilipinas pagdating sa total cases. Pero mababa na po tayo. Number 33 pagdating po sa active cases. Number 132 po tayo pagdating sa kaso per 100,000 population. At number 87 naman po sa case fatality rate na 1.8%. Dito naman po sa Southeast Asia, makikita po natin sa infographics na pang-anim na po ang Pilipinas. Pang-anim na lang po ang Pilipinas pagdating po sa mga aktibong kaso ng COVID. Nangunguna po sa Southeast Asia ang Indonesia, 549,694. Malaysia, 137,587. Thailand, 131,411. Myanmar, 70,070. Vietnam, 55,836. At Philippines, 47,996. Ito po talaga ay dahil sumipa na po sa ating mga karatig bansa ang Delta variant. Siguro po naswerte tayo na arkipelago tayo at meron tayong mas epektibong border control, pero naririto na rin po sa bansa natin ang Delta variant na sa kinakailangan po, mas paintingin pa natin ang mask, hugas, iwas at bakuna. Pagdating naman po sa mga bagong kaso dito sa atin, meron po tayong 6,516 na bagong kaso, sang-ayon po yan sa July 21, 2021 datos ng DOH. Mataas pa rin po ang ating recovery rate na nasa 95.1. Nasa 1,449,579 na po ang bilang ng mga gumaling. Samantalang malungkot nating binabalita po na 26,874 na po ang pumanaw dahil po sa coronavirus. Nakikiramay po kami sa lahat ng mga naulila. 1.76 po ang ating fatality rate. Kamusta naman po mga kalagayan natin sa ospital? No? Well, sa buong Pilipinas po, 55% pa lamang po ang ginagamit nating mga ICU beds. 47% utilize ang ating isolation beds. 43% naman po ang ating ward beds. At 36% ang utilize ang ating ventilator. Sa NCR po, no, nananatiling mababa rin po. No? 42% lang po nagagamit nating ICU beds. 40% ang nagagamit nating isolation beds, 33% po ang mga ward beds na nagagamit at 34% ang mga ventilators na ginagamit. Na dito po nagtatapos ang ating presentasyon. No? Meron po tayong 4 na panauhin ngayon. No? Hinoog City Mayor Eric Cañosa, si Dr. Reverend Father Niconar Astriaco, at saka ang dalawang ambahador po natin galing sa Jakarta po, si Ambassador Lee Hyong Tiwi at sa Thailand po si Ambassador Millicent Cruz Paredes. Puntahan ko muna si Mayor ng Hinoog, Mayor Eric Cañosa. Sir, isa po sa mga lugar na isinalalim sa ECQ ang inyong syudad na Hinoog City. Ilan na ba ho yung mga Delta variants na nadiskubre dyan sa inyong lugar? At ano na po ang mga hakbang na ginagawa natin para palawakin pa at palakasin pa ang ating prevention, treatment, isolation, detection, and rehabilitation? Mayor Eric Cañosa, the floor is yours. Sir, nakamute po kayo. Paki-unmute lang po.
Magandang tanghali po, Secretary Harry Roque. And una po sa lahat, maraming salamat po sa time na binigay niyo po sa amin para din po malalaman natin kung ano yung mga hakbang na ginawa ng City of Hinoog. Lalo na po ngayon na meron po tayong reported na Delta variant ng COVID-19 po sa city. Actually po, Secretary, at sa lahat po ng ating tagapanood, ang Hinoog City po, sa ngayon po ay isa lang po ang reported na Delta variant ng COVID-19 po sa city natin. So, pinaigting po natin yung contact tracing dahil po ang ating Unified Commander na si Dr. Agnes Centino ay napaka-active din po no, sa contact tracing team natin. And sa yung isa po na nag-positive ng Delta variant ay isolated naman po sila, sir. And sa ngayon po, we are under enhanced community quarantine And we are strictly also following the protocol set by the IATF through resolution number 127-E. So sa ngayon po, sir, ang Ingog City po, we have no other reported Delta variant na na-report. Pero yung isang Delta variant po na isolated naman po, meron po siyang kasama po sa bahay in which sila po yung naging positive na na-test po last June 28. So based on the guidelines po ng COVID-19, on the 21st day po, swab antigen test po natin bago po sila ni-release, and they nag-undergo po sila ng additional 7-day home quarantine. So nung July 16 po, nung na-release po ang report galing po sa inyo, Sec, na kasama po ang Hingoog City na meron pong Delta variant, contained naman po yung family, and we are very happy po na sa ngayon kahit yung 4, positive po sila sa COVID-19 after ni-repeat po natin ng swab, but they are all asymptomatic. And sa gene expert po, sa tinest po namin, medyo mataas naman po yung CT value nila, meaning to say, yung iba po is not infectious anymore, at saka yung iba po is hindi po siya highly infectious. So they are on the recovery stage, but we intensify the contact tracing po dito po sa Ingog City up to the 3rd generation. At saka yung 2nd generation po, Sec, negative naman po yung result. So we are very happy na kahit po na negative, kinontact pa din po natin, kinontact trace pa din po natin up to 3rd generation. So sa ngayon po, we have 25 active cases ng COVID-19 in which last June po, nakita po natin na meron pong surge ng COVID-19 sa city ng Hingoog. At with our initiative po ng local government unit together with the COVID-19 task force, tayo po ay nagpasa ng executive order na nilagay po natin ang Hingoog City under modified enhanced community quarantine last June 16 to 31 of 2021. At ito po ang atin pong executive order ay kinunkor naman po ng regional IATF, at we are very happy po to announce po na napamelo down po natin ang cases ng COVID-19 sa Hingoog City. Kasi po during last month po sa June, ang Hingoog City po, we were number 1 in the inter-region as regards to growth rate, and we were number 3 in the inter-region as regards to confirmed cases for the month of June. And after po na dineclare po natin ng buong city with our proactive measures, we managed to mellow down the cases, and of course with the support and cooperation of our people sa Hingoog City. So sa ngayon po, we are not even included in the top 10 local government units in Region 10 na meron pong mataas na mga kaso ng COVID-19. So ito pong 25 cases na po na ito, 5 po dito, yung kakalabas lang po kahapon, they are all LSIs coming from Cebu City. 1 is from Cebu City. And yung 4 po coming from Iloilo City based on the record po na sinubmit po ng ating COVID-19 task force sa Hingoog City. So sa ngayon po, kami po ay nagmi-meeting din po kami ngayon with the barangay captains ng Hingoog City, kasi po we are also planning po on how are we going to distribute the food packs coming from the DSWD para po ito po ay mapadating sa mga families na affected under the ICQ po, sir.
Yes, thank you very much, Mayor Canyosa, at pakisabi rin po sa mga kababayan ninyo na matagal ng pulisiya po ni Presidente, walang ECQ kung walang ayuda. So antayin na lang po natin yung ayuda. Well, kasama rin po natin ngayon ang ating suke, si Dr. Reverend Father Nicanor Austriaco. Sir, ang tanong naman natin, alam na natin po na talagang sadyang mas nakakahawa, sadyang mas nakakamatay ang Delta variant. Ano naman po ang dapat gawin ng taong bayan para maiwasan po ang Delta variant?
So thank you very much, Secretary Harry. What I'll do is I'll share my screen po, and I would just give our listeners and our viewers a very short, brief overview of the science of the Delta variant, so you understand what is happening. So this is a picture of the SARS-CoV-2 virus, and you can see that on the skin of the virus, you have 75 or so of these red spike proteins. And these spike proteins are the key that the virus uses to enter your cells. Now, there are several variants. You have the alpha, the gamma, the delta, and the beta. And in the Philippines, we have currently as dominant the alpha and the beta. And each one of these has a slightly different key. And the delta has the best key. It can open up your cells the best. So these are the countries. The delta is all over the world. And as we know, it is now in the Philippines itself. Now, what is the difference between the different variants? This is the story. So the original variant, if you had one person who was sick, the person could infect 2 other people. But now with the Delta, if one person is sick, you can infect 5 to 8 people, which is why it is so explosive. And I think that this is the most interesting slide. This is the spread of the Delta variant in Sydney, where they were able to contact trace everyone who was infected by one person. So this is one person. He was a driver, a limo driver who drove a pilot of a plane to his hotel. And he got COVID-19, this one person. And within 1 week, there were over 200 cases in Sydney from this one person. And the thing you should notice is that it is driven by super spreader events. So this one cluster is a single birthday party. A single birthday party, and 46 people got infected in this one birthday party because of this person number 16. Now, this number 16 also went to a cafe in the mall. And when they went to the cafe, you can see about 25 people got sick in the cafe. And so what we're seeing here is that we have unprecedented transmission because of super spreading events. And you can see, of course, you brought up the cases in Asia. And this is why, because Vietnam, Thailand, Malaysia, and Indonesia are experiencing a dramatic Delta surge. Indonesia, in the past few days, has begun the negative turn. So hopefully it has begun to come down. So what do we have to look for in an LGU? We have to look for an explosive number of cases. So I want to remind our viewers, in Pasay earlier this year, in February and March, 1 week we had 28 cases per day. The next week we had 83 cases per day. 2 weeks later, we had 150 new cases per day. The Delta will be twice as explosive as this. So once we see it explode in any LGU, it is so wonderful that that LGU, the mayor was able to contain it. If it explodes in an LGU in the NCR, you will see something similar to this pattern like we saw in Pasay. Now, for our kababayans, face mask and face shields, observe minimum public health standards, avoid crowds, especially indoors, because diba, super spreaders are essential for the transmission of Delta. So if you avoid crowds, especially indoors, you will minimize your threat, and you must, of course, get vaccinated when you are eligible. For LGUs, I cannot emphasize that the contact tracing will be intense. So in the past, one positive will give rise to maybe 4. Now we will give rise to 8. And so the contact tracing will become intense as the Delta spreads. The LGUs must implement localized lockdowns of barangays quickly and generously, immediately, to contain if there is a spread in a barangay. And we have to prepare isolation and quarantine facilities. We cannot have home quarantine. Bakit? Because with a transmission, a reproduction number of 8, if a single person becomes COVID positive and they go home, everyone in the house will pretty much get COVID-19 because the reproduction number is so high, which is why in many countries, they simply avoid home quarantine. You have to take the person away and put them in an isolation and quarantine facility. And for our national government, I know that the government is already doing this. We have to prepare our hospitals and healthcare workers, especially drugs and oxygen supply. We must increase contact tracing capacity. The key here is contact tracing because we are going to double the number of contacts in the next surge per day. So I know contact tracers in the LGUs of Manila, and last time in March, they were already crying because they were overwhelmed. They will be more overwhelmed this time because of the large transmission. And this is where we hope we cannot lose control. We have to prepare to increase mobility restrictions. Just as comparison, in Sydney, they moved to an ECQ in 2 weeks. They were that quick to control the spread of the Delta, which is why the Delta is not exploding in Australia, unlike in Indonesia, in Thailand. In Thailand, and I'm sure our ambassador will be able, they are resistant. My friends, I grew up in Bangkok, so my friends there are telling me that the government is resisting the kind of lockdown that we are used to. And so it has allowed the transmission to occur in ways that they are not used to, but we are used to it here in the Philippines. So I have to tell that we do not have to be scared, and a devastating surge does not have to happen. I think one of the things in the news is people think that it will happen for sure. It will not happen if we do not lose control of the pandemic. And this is where we as a country, if we control the pandemic well with contact tracing, with testing, with isolation quarantine, and with liberal use of lockdowns, if we can do this, we will not lose control. We will not have people dying in our hospitals. We will not run out of oxygen. We will beat this enemy. We can do this. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the inspiring words, Dr. Reverend Austriaco. Kasama rin po natin ngayon ang ating ambassador sa Indonesia, si Ambassador Lee Hyong Tiwi. Alam naman po natin na we close our borders first with Jakarta because the predominant variant in Indonesia has become the Delta variant. No? So kamustahin po natin, kamusta si Ambassador at ating mga kababayan sa Indonesia. Ambassador Lee Hyong Wi, kamusta na po kayo mismo? At kamusta na po ang mga kababayan natin dyan sa Jakarta? Meron na ba ho tayong mga nakaplanong repatriation flights dahil sa pamamagitan lang ng mga organized repatriation makakauwi ang mga kababayan natin na galing sa Indonesia? The floor is yours, Ambassador Lee Hyong Wi. Sir, nakamute po kayo. Can you unmute? Yan. Yan.
Yeah, magandang hapon, Secretary Roque. Thank you for having me on the show. Well, sa Jakarta ngayon, sa Indonesia ngayon, as si Reverend Father said, has that Delta variant. Last week, we had a maximum of about more than 55,000. Pero the good news ngayon, bumaba na. It's as of yesterday, it was about 34,000. And I think this is because of the 2 weeks na talagang strictly lockdown Indonesia and Jakarta. This is because that last May, when they had the Lebaran or the New Year's, the government were telling the people not to go home to the provinces, but despite of that, umuwi naman sa provinces. So I think that was about the last week of May. In June, nakakaroon ng spike ng cases. It has been compounded by itong Delta variant. So 2 weeks ago, there was really a strict lockdown. So bumaba ngayon. So this is the good news. Ang Pilipino naman natin, ang kababayan naman natin sa Indonesia, they are very lucky because we have what we call the fundraising, and lahat ng mga Pilipino doon is part of our what do you call that, social platform. Nasa Viber kami, more than 1,000 people. Nasa WhatsApp kami, nasa Facebook kami. So mostly we know what is happening. As of the last count, yung Pilipino natin naka-COVID, are about 10, in July, there were 10 that died of the COVID. And 3 has been reported to the embassy. We have about 6,000 to 8,000 Filipino in Indonesia. Ang cases naman doon ngayon, as I said a while ago, is about 34,000. Mga kababayan naman din natin ngayon are being vaccinated. and we advise them to stay home to get vaccinated. And most of them has been vaccinated either once or twice. Sa repatriation naman, Secretary, I just wrote a letter to IATF and the Department of Foreign Affairs to be able to repatriate our Filipino back to the Philippines, because there are, most of them has expired working contract, kailangan na bumalik na rito, and there are some of them that are in panic state. So really we need about 1 or 2 flights, no? If the IATF can do that, it's going to release a lot of pressure on the embassy. Ang embassy naman po is open to attend to all these cases ng mga Pilipino natin. So far, maayos naman sila because of our communication with the Filipino community all over Indonesia, from Jakarta to Surabaya to Bali to Medan, everywhere. Okay?
Maraming salamat, Ambassador.
Thank you, Secretary.
Kayo ba ho'y bakunado na, Ambassador?
Yeah. Bakunado na ko. 2 beses na. Fully vaccinated na. And that is what we are asking the people there. Get vaccine. Because at least safe tayo, di ba?
Keep safe, Ambassador, ha? Kasama rin po natin ngayon ang ating Ambassador Millicent Cruz Paredes, our Ambassador to the Kingdom of Thailand. Sir, ganun din po ang ating tanong. Kamusta na po sa Thailand? Nakakagulat po nangyari sa Thailand. Dati po, mababang mga kaso dyan sa Thailand, pero ngayon po biglang lumobo. At kamusta naman po mga kababayan natin dyan? Same question din po, meron na ba ho tayong na-organize na repatriation flights? Ambassador Millicent Cruz Paredes.
Unang-una po, magandang umaga po, Mr. Secretary. Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. Kami po dito sa Thailand, tama po yung nabanggit ninyo, medyo malaki nga po talaga ang jump ng kanilang number of COVID cases. As a matter of fact, today is another record-breaking day at 13.6 thousand cases right now in Thailand. So, kami po, for the last several days, we have been really monitoring, and we have been in touch with the Filipino community as well as the Thai authorities, because we have been appealing for a wider access to the vaccination among our Filipino community. So, ang ginawa po naming initiative, nag-open po kami ng registration portal where Filipinos could register, and then we submitted that to the Thai government. At nagpasalamat naman po sila, sabi po nila that would help them in reaching out to those who are eligible for vaccination. So right now, mayroon pong may mga portals din po ang Thai authorities for our Filipino community to register. We have always put that in our website. Kaya because we have been getting a lot of requests din po. So as for the repatriation request, meron po kaming 90 requests lang po right now. So pinoprocess po namin yan. But what we have really have done since last year is to issue this letter to extend the stay of our Filipino community here. Because of course we know that travel is restricted. So as of since last year, we have issued around 14,000 letters of request for the extension of the stay of our Filipino nationals here. And so far naman po, wala naman po kaming naririnig na feedback na hindi sila napagbigyan, because the Thai authorities of course know the situation that travel is not very easy these days. So ang Filipino community po dito, numbers around 30,000. Ang na-monitor po namin nagkasakit ay 30. Doon po sa 30 na yon, 29 na po ang gumaling. Kaya we only have 1 active case. At again, alam po ng mga Filipinos dito na anytime they can reach us for whatever assistance we could offer. At ang aming po mga hotlines ay nakapaskil sa aming mga website at sa Facebook page namin. Yan lang po, Mr. Secretary.
Maraming salamat, Ambassador Millicent Cruz Paredes. Punta na po tayo sa ating open forum. Go ahead, Yusek Roque.
Yes, good afternoon, Secretary Roque, at sa ating pong mga bisita. Question from Laila Salaberry of Inquirer. How is Malacanang taking the report that an ocean bottom seismometer, which is widely used in oil exploration, was found north of Scarborough Shoal? The device had Chinese characters. Is the palace concerned that China is conducting activities in the country's EEZ without our consent?
Wala po kaming official reaction dyan because I think your question is based on speculation. No? As far as we know po, binabantayan natin yung mga barkong naglalayag dyan sa Scarborough Shoal at wala naman pong nare-report sa atin na isang barko na ginagamit for exploration purposes. No? Kinakailangan po kasi ng barko talaga na nagbabato ng sound signal, no, sa ilalim ng karagatan para pong mag-explore kung merong ang langis sa ilalim po ng karagatan. Wala naman pong ganung report na nakukuha. So for now, we're confident na wala naman pong exploration na nagaganap dyan sa Scarborough, at kung meron naman po, and if we can verify it, then we will file or do the corresponding action.
Opo, yun nga po yung second question niya. What is the palace going to do about the discovery of the device? Will the government ask China for an explanation about this?
Hindi po, nag-iimbestiga talaga tayo kung bakit na nakuha yung ganyang equipment. Pero alam niyo po, without the boat, hindi po magagamit din yung equipment na yan. No? So ang tinitingnan po natin kung meron talagang mga barko na naglalayag dyan for the purpose of oil exploration.
Ang third question niya, you mentioned yesterday that in his SONA, the President will answer the question of what and where we are now and looking forward to his final year. Can the public also expect him to allude to or to mention his plans for the future since he is thinking of running for Vice President and his allies have been saying they want continuity of his programs?
Well, siguro po hindi mapapasama ang kanyang mga planong politikal. Importante po is the roadmap for his last year in office.
Thank you, Secretary.
Okay, maraming salamat. Pia Ranada, please. Wait, mali pala. Mela Las Mores pala. Wait, Mela Las Mores, please.
Hi, good afternoon, Secretary Roque at sa ating mga guests. Secretary Roque, unahin ko lang po yung kalagayan ni Pangulong Duterte ngayon. Naulat nga na nagpositibo sa COVID-19 si Vice Mayor Sebastian Duterte. And pagsamasamahin ko na questions about this, Secretary Roque, nakasalamuhan niya po ba si Pangulong Duterte? Ano po ang reaksyon ng ating presidente dito? At dahil nga sa nangyari, maapektuhan po ba yung attendance ng Duterte family sa SONA?
First question, wala po akong alam na close contact si Presidente. No? And second question is, of course, the President is concerned as a father. Bagamat one thing going for Vice Mayor is siya po'y bata at malusog. No? Talaga naman pong immune system ang lumalaban dito sa COVID-19. No? Pangatlo po, nag-confirm na po si Mayor Sara na hindi po siya darating. No? At hindi ko lang po alam kung makakarating si Deputy Speaker Pulong, no? But I understand the number of members of Congress attending are also very limited po.
Opo. And today, I understand, Secretary Roque, may IATF meeting din. Ano po kaya yung mga agenda nyo na makatutulong sa ating pinaigting na paglaban sa Delta variant?
Well, siguro po kasama na dyan yung rekomendasyon ng mga eksperto kung babawiin yung naunang pag-anunsyo na pinapayagan ng mga bata edad 5 hanggang 17 na makalabas ng bahay sa mga open spaces. So inaasahan ko po isa yan sa pag-uusapan ngayong hapon.
Opo. How about, sir, yung quarantine classifications? Magkakaroon pa po kaya ng pagbabago?
Well, ang alam ko po ay lahat po nung until the 22nd na-extend na po until the 31st. No? So wala po atang quarantine classification except kung merong mga reports na meron talagang tumataas na kaso, in which case po pwede naman talagang i-discuss yan. Miski walang regular quarantine classifications.
Opo. At panghuling tanong na lamang po, Secretary Roque, nabanggit niyo po kasi yung issue ng politika. I understand na sa ngayon, COVID-19 pandemic yung ating focus. Pero sakali lang, ang tanong lang po ng ilan nating kababayan, sakali mang matuloy yung initial senatorial list ng PDP Laban kung saan marami nga nakasamang miyembro ng gabinete, paano po kaya yung magiging sistema sa sa government? Sino na kaya yung magsasalita? Especially sa Malacanang na nakita nga natin, dahil hindi pa confirm, ay posibleng kasama yung ating mga opisyal sa Malacanang.
Wala pa naman pong kumpirmadong tatakbo. So, wag muna tayo mag-speculate hanggang sila po ay nakapaghain na ng kanilang certificate of candidacies.
Okay, thank you so much po, Secretary Roque, at sa ating mga panauhin.
Salamat, Mela. Punta naman tayo kay Yusek Roque muli.
Yes, from Chris Jose of Remate Online. Last week, sinabi daw po ni Senator Manny Pacquiao na kanyang ilalabas ang video at audio na prueba ng kanyang aligasyon tungkol sa korupsyon laban sa isang ahensya ng gobyerno. Patutunayan daw ni Pacquiao na hindi raw watusi lang, kundi atom bomb. Ang pasabog niya tungkol sa korupsyon sa gobyerno, I quote, "Natatawa lang ako. Sabi nila watusi, sige, pagdating ko dyan, watusi pala. Ipalalabas ko video, audio recording kung papayag lang maipalabas, pati audio recording," end quote. Yan daw po ang naging pahayag ni Senator Pacquiao.
Well, pabayaan po natin si Senator Pacquiao kung anong gusto niyang isiwalat. No? It's a free country. Pero sa ngayon po, kaisa nila kami, kaisa niya ang buong sambayan ng Pilipino in wishing him good luck sa pagdating na laban niya.
From Dreo Calonzo of Bloomberg, how optimistic is the palace that its priority bills will be passed in Congress during President Duterte's last year in office with the elections just around the corner?
Well, kampante naman po kami dahil napakabuti po ng samahan ng Presidente sa parehong kapulungan ng Kongreso na kung talagang urgent ang nature ng bill, maipapasa naman po yan. Siyempre, kasama na po dyan kung hihingi ng Presidente yung Bayanihan 3. Hindi ko naman po maisip na meron tututol, no, kung magkaroon ng decision nga na humingi ng Bayanihan 3.
Opo. Second question niya, how does the administration plan to push its priority measures in Congress whose members are expected to become busy with their re-election bids?
Sabihin na lang natin na kung merong mga talagang priority bills, kinakailangan ipasa na yan sa lalong mabilis na panahon kasi kapag pinaabot pa natin sa susunod na taon, alam natin busy na sa politika ang lahat. So the priority bills must be heard and hopefully passed within the year 2021.
Thank you, Secretary Roque.
Okay, punta na tayo kay Pia Nada, please.
Hi, sir. Sir, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. One of the findings or one of the remarks made by the Supreme Court in its March decision on the ICC withdrawal was that the Philippines, despite withdrawing, is still obligated to cooperate with proceedings that began before the withdrawal. How does the palace see this?
That's obiter dictum. You know, in law, Pia, there's the main issue that has to be resolved. And the main issue was, is Senate concurrence required sa pagbitiw sa ICC? Because in becoming a member of the ICC, the Senate concurred. And the main decision was no. An obiter dicta doesn't really have jurisprudential value. No? It is on the side. It is not on the merits. It is not the main ruling of the court. And we are not, of course, in any way concerned about that obiter. That's the nature of obiters.
Sir, your friend, your former colleague at Center Law, Professor Romel Bagara, says otherwise. He thinks that this is not obiter but part of the key holdings of the court, and we agree with this conclusion by the Supreme Court. Is he mistaken?
Well, I will not say he is mistaken. We simply do not agree because the issue was, and if I remember this correctly, because I appeared also in the Senate, no, preparatory to their filing of this petition, the issue was, should the Senate have concurred before the President withdrew from the ICC? And the ruling of the court was, it's moot, number one, and the court would have, naku, Tagalog na sana, hindi naman boboto ang korte na moot in academic kung iniisip nila na meron nalabag na proseso sa ating saligang batas. By ruling that it is moot, the court virtually said hindi kinakailangan ang concurrence ng Senado.
So does this mean, sir, that Malacanang will still not cooperate with the ICC probe despite these remarks in the decision of the Supreme Court?
Unfortunately, the lack of enforcement mechanism cannot compel the Philippines to cooperate when the President has clearly said we will not do so.
So no change, sir. No, status
change.
quo.
No change because that's obiter and petition dismissed. So yun ang importante, Pia, no? In analyzing the effect of a decision, na-grant ba o na-dismiss. Ang gusto nila, mabaliwala yung withdrawal. Hindi po nabaliwala. So it is dismissed. Panalo po ang gobyerno.
Pero sir, in this particular point kasi, sinasabi ng Supreme Court, it refutes what the President has been saying all along, that we're not obligated. In fact, the Supreme Court is saying we are. So this is not hold any weight for Malacanang at all?
Pia, I've answered you. You're debating and let's not debate.
Okay, thanks, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Pia. Let's go to you, Roque, please.
Yes, Secretary. Ang question ni Maricel Halili ng TV5 at ni Laila Salaveria ay nasagot niyo na about Supreme Court sa ICC. And second question ni Maricel Halili, hinihiling ng Mariveles na bigyan sila ng mas malaking allocation ng bakuna lalo't very high risk sila, sabi ng Octa Research Group. Can the government commit more vaccine allocation for Mariveles, Bataan?
Nako, taga-riyan po ako. So, I'm not saying yes because I'm from there, pero ang Bataan po talaga naka-MECQ ever since, the whole province, no? Kaya nga po, sinabi naman ni Vaccine SAR na talaga magbibigay tayo ng karagdagang mga bakuna dun sa area na nagkakaroon po ng surge. At kasama na po dyan, hindi lang po ang munisipyo ng Mariveles, kundi ang buong probinsya ng Bataan.
From Trish Terada ng CNN Philippines, President Duterte will meet U.S. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin when he visits July 29 to 30. Itatakel or may possibility ba na aprubahan na ni President Duterte ang Visiting Forces Agreement?
My answer is perhaps. Wala pa po akong notification by way of his official schedule, but he is the visiting secretary would be definitely meeting with Secretary Delphine Lorenzana. Now, hindi ko rin po alam kung magkakaroon na ng kasagutan ng presidente whether or not to extend the VFA, no? So let's wait po for his final decision. Wala pa pong decision. There's been a proposal in the form of an addendum to the VFA, pero wala pa po kung alam kung nakadesisyon na ang ating presidente.
Second question po niya, what does he think U.S. goodwill in our vaccination drive and how will this factor in his decision on VFA?
Sabihin na lang po natin, lahat ng Pilipino kasama si presidente, tumatanaw po ng utang na loob.
From Ivan Mayrina ng GMA News, tumaas po sa 1.15 ang reproduction rate ng Octa Research, up from 0.91 point. Katulad daw po ng trend na ito nang pasimula ang surge nitong Pebrero, pero ito rin po ay nasa panimulang stage pa lang at maaari pang lapatan ng proactive measures. What proactive measures are we looking at to arrest this possible surge?
Gaya po ng sinabi ni Father Austriaco, no? Kinakailangan paintingin natin ang ating prevention, mask, hugas, iwas, ang ating detection, mas agresibong testing, ang ating isolation po, at saka ating contact tracing. Siguro po mamaya talaga sa IATF ang talagang ako mismo maglalabas na issue.
Opo,
Paano po palakasin yung ating contact tracing talaga, no? Dahil yan po talaga ang susi para maiwasan yung pagkalat, no? Matapos matest, kinakailangan ma-contact trace ang mga nagkaroon ng close contact at ma-isolate po ang lahat.
Opo, ang follow-up ni Ivan Mayrina, in light of this, Philippine College of Physicians President Dr. Maricar Limpin said that emergency rooms are seeing a fresh uptick in COVID cases. Isa sa mga tinitingnan nilang dahilan ay ang di pagsunod sa minimum public health standards sa public transportation at nananawagan po ng panibagong paghihigpit.
Well, kaya nga po pakiusap natin, no, mas paintingin pa po natin mga kababayan ang mask, hugas, iwas, ha. Yan lang po talaga ang sandata natin. Yung bakuna po, hindi kaagad-agarang protection po yan. Umaabot po yan ng minimum 6 weeks bago gagana ang proteksyon, no? At hindi pa natin maibigay sa lahat. So doon pa rin po tayo sa mask, hugas, iwas, at saka kung po pwede po, wag na kayo lumabas ng bahay kung hindi naman po kinakailangan.
From Pia Gutierrez ng ABS-CBN, can you give us more details about the President's SONA? Magkakaroon di ba ulit ng director gaya nung nakaraang taon? Ano ang tema ng kanyang speech sa Lunes?
Yung outline lang po ang aking I was given liberty to divulge, which I have divulged yesterday po, no. I'm sure meron din po tayong director at I'm sure magiging malinaw naman po ang roadmap ni Presidente for his final year in office.
Question from Alvin Baltasar of Radyo Pilipinas. Sakaling mag-file ng candidacy ang Pangulo sa pagka-bise, does this mean that Vice President Leni will take over unless kumandidato din si VP Leni sa public office?
Wala po akong alam na rule na kinakailangan magbitiw sa pwesto kapag presidente and tatakbo for vice president. Wala po ako alam na ganyang rule.
Okay.
In the same way, na
Maraming
wala pong
salamat.
rule na kapag nag-file ang vice president for presidency na kinakailangan magbitiw siya. Wala rin pong ganon.
Thank you, Secretary Roque. Yan po muna yung mga questions na kuha natin.
Okay, since wala na po tayong mga katanungan, no one in Zoom anymore, no? Maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat. Maraming salamat po sa ating mga naging panauhin. Si Mayor Eric Cañosa, Mayor ng Hinoog, si Dr. Reverend Father Nicanor Astriaco. Sir, thank you very much. I understand you've returned to the US. Maraming salamat po at napuyat kayo sa pag-guest sa ating presidential press briefing. Ambassador Lee Hyong Tiwi, our ambassador to Jakarta, Ambassador Millicent Cruz Paredes, our ambassador to Thailand, no? At maraming salamat sa iyo, Yusek Roque. Maraming salamat sa lahat ng miyembro ng ating Malacanang Press Corps. Maraming salamat, Pilipinas, sa inyong patuloy na pagtaguyod sa ating presidential press briefing. Sa ngalan po ng ating presidente, Rodrigo Roa Duterte, ito po inyong spokes. Harry Roque nagsasabi, mga kababayan, nandyan na po ang Delta variant. Kinakailangan paintingin ang mask, hugas, iwas. Kinakailangan po kung po pwede, sa bahay na lang tayo. At pinaka-importante, kung po pwede na po, magpabakuna na. Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat.